Hello, welcome to the fourth day of our chapter. Today we're going to be looking at special right triangles. Our goal today is to use 30, 60, 90 triangles and 45, 45, 90 triangles to find missing side lengths. Now, we want to find the hypotenuse in this situation. So if I have 5 and 5, that would be 5 squared plus 5 squared is equal to c squared. Or 25 plus 25 is 50. Now when I take the square root of 50, I get root 25 and root 2, which would be 5 times the square root of 2. Now, do you see a connection between these numbers and this number? We already talked about in a previous lesson. If those two values are the same, we can multiply by the square root of 2 and find our hypotenuse. So if we want to save all of this work, if this is 9 and 9, our hypotenuse would just be 9 times the square root of 2, which is nice and easy. Now, this brings up our first conjecture, an isosceles right triangle. If the legs have a length of x, the hypotenuse has the length x times the square root of 2. Now, in example 1 here, we'll do the same thing. 11 and 11, our hypotenuse would be 11 times the square root of 2. If this is 3 and 3, our hypotenuse would be 3 times the square root of 2. Hopefully this is making some sense and people are seeing the pattern. If you want to use Pythagorean theorem, you can. It's just a little bit more work. This is a shortcut. Now there's another triangle, a 30, 60, 90 triangle, that the shorter leg is x, the longer leg would be x times the square root of 3, and the hypotenuse would be 2 times x. So if this was a 30, 60, 90, say if the shorter leg was 5, the longer leg is 5 times the square root of 3, and the hypotenuse is 2 times the x value, so 10 would be our hypotenuse. And this is a very common triangle used in architecture, used throughout mathematics. That's a good one to know. So if we knew 10 and 5, this side would be 5 root 3, like we just did on the previous page. If this was 18 and 9, this is a 30, 60, 90. And so 18 and 9, this would be 9 times the square root of 3. Now we could do the whole thing just from one side. If we knew this side was 4, I would multiply by 2 to get the hypotenuse, multiply by the square root of 3 to get the third length. All right, hopefully you can do this one. Take 3 times 2 to get your hypotenuse, 3 times the square root of 3 to get your third side. And again, if you have your short side, you multiply by 2 to get the hypotenuse, multiply by the square root of 3 to get your third side. Now if I have my hypotenuse being 10, and this is a 30, 60, 90, this side will be half of that, and this side would be 5 root 3, just like my initial problem. Now we're going to get into some more difficult problems. Now if I have my hypotenuse being 4 root 2, we know that if you have your side, you multiply by the square root of 2 to get your hypotenuse. So we divide this by the square root of 2. So 4 root 2 divided by 2 will be 4 and 4 and a 45, 45, 90. All right. Now if this is 7 and not 7 times the square root of 2, and I want to find these sides, this is where it gets a little tricky. Now if this is 7, I take 7 divided by the square root of 2, and we learned in our first chapter we can't have a root 2 in the denominator, so I have to rationalize it by multiplying by root 2 over root 2. So now when I multiply across, I have 7 root 2 over 2, which is my answer. You could write this 3.5 times the square root of 2 if you'd like, or those would be acceptable. All right, in this one, I have this side being 5 times the square root of 3. I have to divide by the square root of 3 to go over here. So 5 root 3 divided by root 3 is 5. And then I multiply by 2 to get my hypotenuse. So now 5 and 10, just like my initial problem. Now if I have this side, my hypotenuse, to get my short side, I have to divide by 2. So 10 root 3 over 2. Remember, you can divide things outside the parentheses, outside the square roots. So this would be 5 times the square root of 3. Now I have to go from this side to this side. I have to multiply by the square root of 3. So this would be 5 times the square root of 3 times the square root of 3, which would be 5 times the square root of 9. And the square root of 9 is 3, so 5 times 3 is 15. So this side length is 15. So that's a little tricky. We start with our hypotenuse, we divide by 2 to get this side, multiply by the square root of 3 to get 15. All right, this is back to 45, 45, 90. Now here we multiply, or the square root of 6, if that's square root of 6, this side is square root of 6. And now we multiply these sides times the square root of 2 to get my hypotenuse. So the square root of 6 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 12. And we can simplify the square root of 12 to be root 4 root 3, which is 2 times the square root of 3. So that is our hypotenuse. Now if I have the short side, I multiply by 2 to get the hypotenuse. So that's 2 times the square root of 3. I multiply the short side times the square root of 3 to get the other length. Root 3 times root 3, which is the square root of 9, which is just 3. All right, we're done with that lesson. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 on how your comfortability level. And now you're ready to start the homework.